Dr. Sarah Chen was having what she liked to call a perfectly shitty Monday, which really shouldn't have been possible considering Earth's calendar meant nothing in deep space. The coffee synthesizer was broken again, producing what tasted like burnt rubber mixed with regret, and her latest batch of alien bacteria samples had developed a concerning habit of humming show tunes. "At least they have good taste," she muttered, watching the Petri dish vibrate to what sounded suspiciously like "Don't Stop Believing." The peaceful research vessel Horizon's dream had been Sarah's home for the past 3 years, and she'd gotten used to its quirks. Like how the gravity generators hiccuped every Tuesday at 3 a.m. ship time, or how the AI insisted on calling everyone sweetie after someone uploaded an ancient Golden Girls database for entertainment. The ship's intercom crackled. "Sweetie, we have an unidentified vessel approaching. Captain wants all senior staff in the bridge." Sarah sighed, setting down her not coffee. "Because of course we do. Heaven forbid we have a normal day of studying space bacteria that think they're on Broadway." The bridge was already crowded when she arrived. Through the view screen, Sarah saw what looked like a massive chrome arrowhead pointed at their ship. Its surface was covered in angular patterns that seemed to shift and flow like liquid metal. "Beautiful," she breathed, her xenobiologist heart skipping a beat. "Incoming transmission," announced Lieutenant Park, their communications officer who had a PhD in linguistics and an unfortunate addiction to reality TV shows from the 21st century. The view screen flickered, and Sarah found herself staring at what appeared to be a 9-foot-tall humanoid praying mantis wearing ceremonial armor. Its compound eyes gleamed with an intelligence that made her skin crawl. "Greetings, lesser beings," the mantis alien announced in perfect English. "We are the Vrax, supreme rulers of the 7th quadrant. Your vessel has entered our territory." Captain Rodriguez, a woman who once faced down a space pirate wearing nothing but a towel and armed with a rubber duck long story, stepped forward. "We apologize for any territorial violation. We're a peaceful research vessel from Earth, seeking diplomatic contact with other species." The Vrax's mandibles clicked rapidly, their version of laughter, Sarah would later learn. "Earth, we are unfamiliar with your world. Which galactic federation do you serve?" "We're not part of any federation," Rodriguez replied. "We're an independent species." The clicking stopped abruptly. The Vrax's compound eyes shifted color from green to deep red. "Independent? Unaffiliated primitives dare to travel space? This is unfortunate." Sarah felt her stomach drop. She'd seen that look before on apex predators right before they struck. As the Vrax's ship began powering up its weapons, she couldn't help but think that this perfectly shitty Monday had just gotten exponentially worse. The last thing she heard before all hell broke loose was her bacteria colony, still cheerfully humming "Don't Stop Believing" through the ship's internal sensors. At least someone was maintaining optimism in the face of imminent doom. The Vrax's boarding was methodical, precise, and absolutely terrifying. Sarah watched from inside maintenance shaft 23B as they moved through the ship like chrome-plated Terminators with anger management issues. Their magnetic boots made metallic clicks against the deck plating. Click, 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 like the world's deadliest tap dance routine. "Search every compartment," their leader commanded. "Find their navigation records, and terminate any crew that resist." He paused. "Or don't resist, terminate them anyway." "Well, isn't he just a ray of sunshine?" Sarah whispered to herself, trying to control her breathing. The maintenance shaft was cramped, smelled like burnt circuitry, and probably violated several safety regulations. But it beat the alternative of joining her colleagues in their impromptu execution party. Through the shaft's ventilation grating, she watched Dr. Patel, their chief physician, get cornered in the med bay. He raised his hands, attempting to reason with the Vrax. "We're a civilian vessel. This violates every interstellar convention." The Vrax shot him mid-sentence. "Your species isn't part of any convention," they chittered. "How unfortunate for you." Sarah bit back a scream, tears streaming down her face. She'd played poker with Patel just last night. He'd been teaching her card tricks, saying his grandfather was a famous magician in Mumbai. Now he was gone, just like that. The ship's AI, still stuck in Golden Girls mode, chose that moment to make an announcement. "Sweeties, we have unauthorized personnel aboard. Would anyone like some cheesecake while we discuss this?" "Shut that infernal system down," the Vrax leader roared. "Oh, thank you for being a friend," the AI sang before going silent. Sarah might have laughed if she wasn't trying so hard not to throw up. She needed to move, to find other survivors. The maintenance shafts connected the entire ship. She could theoretically reach the escape pods without being detected. That's when she heard the whimper. Looking through another grating, she saw Lieutenant Park huddled behind some cargo containers. He was clutching his side, blood seeping between his fingers. 2 Vrax soldiers were methodically searching the area, getting closer to his position. "Damn it, James," she whispered. "Don't move." But Park was losing blood. He swayed, knocking over an empty container. The sound echoed through the cargo bay like a dinner bell for murderous space mantises. Sarah knew she should stay hidden. It was the logical choice, the survival choice. But Park had been the one who introduced her to those ridiculous reality shows, making her laugh during long shifts. He'd named one of her bacteria colonies Jerry, because it kept splitting up and causing drama with the others. "I'm going to regret this," she muttered, reaching for the grating. "Hey, bug boys. Over here." The Vrax turned, mandibles clicking in surprise as Sarah burst from the shaft. She grabbed a fire suppression canister and sprayed it directly at their compound eyes. They screamed a high-pitched sound like nails on a chalkboard, giving her just enough time to reach Park. "Come on, Jerry's waiting for his next dramatic split," she said, pulling him up. They made it 3 steps before the stun blast hit them both. As Sarah's consciousness faded, she heard the Vrax leader approach. A rescue attempt? How noble. How utterly human. He leaned down, compound eyes shifting from red to a sickly yellow. "Don't worry. We'll have plenty of time to discuss your species' weakness for emotional attachment." Sarah's last thought before darkness took her was that she really should have had a second cup of that terrible coffee this morning. It might be her last chance to taste anything ever again. Ko-Lac's torture chamber was clinically white, like a laboratory designed by someone who'd watched too many horror movies. Sarah hung suspended in a neural reformation field, her body floating in a web of blue energy. "Fascinating," Ko-Lac chittered, adjusting controls. "Most species break within minutes. Yet you persist in defiance." He touched her forehead with a neural probe. "Let's increase the intensity." Pain exploded through Sarah's nervous system. Her skin felt like it was being peeled off one cell at a time. Through gritted teeth, she said, "You know my bacteria colonies are more intimidating than you." Humor? At this stage, Ko-Lac's compound eyes shifted color. "Perhaps we need a different approach." The neural field projected images directly into her brain. Earth burning, humanity enslaved. But Sarah's scientific mind kicked in, analyzing the illusion's construction. "Nice CGI, needs better lighting effects though." Ko-Lac switched to physical torture. Acid dripped on her skin. Electricity coursed through her muscles. Pressure chambers crushed her bones. Through it all, Sarah's consciousness remained oddly analytical, cataloging each sensation like data points in an experiment. "Tell us Earth's coordinates," Ko-Lac demanded. "End your suffering." "Here's something interesting about pain," Sarah gasped. "Humans study it, understand it. Some even seek it out." She coughed blood. "We're the only species that invented hot sauce for fun." Enraged, Ko-Lac activated every torture device simultaneously. "Your species is primitive, weak. You will break." Sarah's vision dimmed. Her heart stuttered. But her mind remained clear, observing her body's responses with detached curiosity. "That's where you're wrong. Humans don't break." Her vital signs flatlined. With her last breath, she whispered, "We adapt." Ko-Lac recorded her time of death, 1542 ship time. He didn't notice how her cells had already begun to change, evolving in ways that would soon make him regret every moment of torture. The chamber's monitors beeped softly, counting down the 37 minutes until Sarah would prove just how well humans could adapt. Sarah Chen died at exactly 1542 ship time. Ko-Lac had her time of death recorded with typical Vrax precision, probably planning to add it to their xenobiological database under human pain tolerance limits. Her last heartbeat echoed through their monitoring systems like a final drumbeat. At 1619, that drumbeat returned. First, it was just a single cell, one microscopic spark of life that refused to accept termination protocols. Then another, and another. Like a cascade of dominoes falling in reverse, Sarah's cells began reassembling themselves, rewriting their own genetic code on the fly. The Vrax didn't notice at first. They were too busy congratulating themselves, mandibles clicking in that smug way that would have irritated Sarah if she wasn't technically dead at the moment. File the footage under primitive species subjugation, Keolac ordered. Their weakness was. The monitoring system screamed to life. Impossible, the medical officer chittered. The human cellular structure, it's regenerating. Every torture method we employed, her DNA is learning from it. Sarah's first breath back in the land of the living was more of a laugh. Her eyes snapped open, now glowing with an inner light that matched the Vrax's compound eyes. You know, she said conversationally, shrugging off the restraints that had previously held her. A funny thing about humans, we're really good at spite. The Vrax stepped back, mandibles trembling. They watched in horror as the wounds they'd inflicted sealed themselves, leaving behind iridescent scars that pulsed with bioluminescence. See, while you were busy playing 101 Ways to Break a Human. Sarah continued, flexing her fingers experimentally. My body was taking notes. Neural pathways? Rewired. Pain receptors? Now they're just data collectors. That acid you used? My skin analyzed its composition and said, neat trick. Let me show you mine. Her skin rippled, secreting a substance that made the metal floor sizzle. Keolac grabbed his neural disruptor. This is impossible. You were dead. I got better, Sarah grinned, her teeth now slightly sharper than human standard. But you know what the real kicker is? Everything you did to me, it's not just healing, it's upgrading. That electricity you used? My nervous system loved it. The pressure chamber? My bones are practically indestructible now. The psychological torture? Well, she tapped her temple. Let's just say my brain's processing power got a serious boost. She took a step forward. The Vrax took 3 steps back. Want to know something fascinating about human evolution? Sarah's voice carried the same academic enthusiasm she used when discussing her bacteria colonies. We evolved from persistence hunters. We didn't have to be the strongest or fastest, we just had to keep going until our prey collapsed from exhaustion. And now she gestured to her transformed body. You've just jump-started about 10 million years of evolution in 37 minutes. Congratulations. Keolac fired his neural disruptor. The beam hit Sarah square in the chest. She looked down at the impact point with genuine curiosity. Ha! That tickles, she cocked her head. My turn. The room erupted in chaos. Vrax soldiers fired weapons, each blast teaching Sarah's cells new tricks. Their armor, designed to intimidate lesser species, crumpled under her enhanced strength. Every attack they launched, her body analyzed, adapted to, and improved upon. You wanted to study human weakness, Sarah called out, her voice echoing with new harmonics as she systematically dismantled the Vrax's security forces. Here's the thing about humans, we're really bad at staying dead and really good at holding grudges. And you. She cornered Keolac, who was frantically trying to send a distress signal. You just gave me a crash course in becoming humanity's next evolutionary step. She lifted the Vrax leader with one hand, noting how her muscles had restructured themselves for optimal efficiency. Now let's discuss the concept of karmic irony. The security cameras caught everything. Every moment of Sarah's resurrection, transformation, and subsequent rampage was recorded in pristine high definition. Future xenobiologists would study this footage for decades, trying to understand how the Vrax's torture inadvertently activated humanity's dormant genetic potential for adaptive evolution. But in that moment, as Sarah stood among the wreckage of the torture chamber, her body humming with newfound power, she had a single thought that summed up the situation perfectly. I really wish my bacteria could see me now. Jerry would be so proud. Warning: human biological anomaly detected in Sector 7, the ship's AI announced in Vrax language. Sarah smiled, she understood it perfectly now, her brain having reconstructed their language from her torture sessions. You know, she said to the Vrax soldier cornered in the maintenance shaft, her old hiding spot. Oh, the irony, I should thank you guys. My dissertation was on rapid evolutionary adaptation in extreme environments. Now I'm my own case study. The soldier fired his plasma rifle. Sarah caught the bolt with her bare hand, her skin instantly developing a metallic sheen that absorbed the energy. Fascinating. My cellular structure just converted plasma into biochemical energy. Mind if I take notes? She grabbed his weapon, crushed it, and patted his trembling carapace. Don't worry, This is all in the name of science. Through the ship's corridors, she moved like a predator, each encounter adding to her arsenal of adaptations. A nerve toxin left her immune system supercharged. A gravity weapon gave her control over her own mass. Their psychic attacks? Her consciousness expanded beyond single brain limitations. Security breach in the armory, another announcement. All warriors converge. Actually, Sarah interrupted, having hacked the communication system. This is your friendly neighborhood evolved human speaking. Quick question, you know how humans are persistence hunters. Well, what happens when you give one accelerated healing, pain immunity, and enhanced strength? She kicked down the armory door, facing 20 elite Vrax warriors. The answer is a really bad day for you. The battle lasted exactly 2.37 minutes. Sarah knew because her new neural processors track time with atomic precision. I'm collecting so much data, she mused, stepping over unconscious bodies. My old research committee would have a field day with this. Well, after they stopped screaming. In the ship's bridge, she found the last of her torturers attempting to activate the self-destruct sequence. Going somewhere, she leaned against the doorframe. We haven't finished our discussion on human pain thresholds. You're an abomination, the Vrax officer screamed. Technically, I'm a breakthrough in directed evolution. But sure, let's go with abomination. It sounds more dramatic, she pointed to his neural disruptor. Going to use that? Please do. My nervous system could use another upgrade. Instead, he released a containment field, trapping her in pure energy. Ha! No biological entity can survive this. Sarah yawned, her cells already adapting to exist as both matter and energy. You guys really don't learn, do you? Everything you throw at me just makes me stronger. It's like Pokemon, but with more existential horror. The containment field shattered. Sarah's body now glowed with internal energy that made the Vrax's bioluminescence look like a cheap glow stick. Now, about those coordinates to Earth you wanted so badly. Please, he begged. Mercy. Funny thing about mercy, Sarah said, her voice resonating at frequencies that made the ship's hull vibrate. Like evolution, it's highly adaptable. Sometimes it means sparing someone her hand closed around his throat. And sometimes it means ensuring they never hurt anyone else again. Later, standing amid the disabled ship's bridge, Sarah accessed their data core. She found files on hundreds of species the Vrax had tortured, killed, and subjugated. Well, she murmured, downloading everything. Looks like humanity isn't the only species getting an upgrade today. Her body hummed with power, new abilities still emerging. She could feel her DNA rewriting itself, optimizing, evolving. The Vrax had wanted to study human weakness. Instead, they'd created something unprecedented, a human being who had evolved past their own concept of evolution. Computer. She commanded in perfect Vrax language, set course for the nearest Vrax colony. I think it's time for some peer review of their research methods. Sarah stood before the United Earth Council. Her bioluminescent scars pulsing gently in the dim chamber. The holographic display behind her showed the Vrax torture footage, making several council members visibly nauseous. Their empire fell in 3 days, she reported. Turns out most species don't appreciate learning their supreme overlords were secretly torturing everyone. The galactic community's currently dividing up Vrax space among their former victims. Apparently, karma's a bit more efficient in space. She gestured to her transformed body. But I didn't come back just to report their downfall. I brought something more valuable, proof of humanity's next evolutionary step. Her skin rippled, demonstrating various adaptations. Every torture method they used unlocked something dormant in our DNA. We're not just resilient, we're evolutionarily opportunistic. When pushed to our absolute limits, we don't just survive, we upgrade. And the bacteria colonies, asked a scientist, reviewing her data. The ones that sang show tunes. Sarah smiled. Jerry and friends are thriving in the lab. Turns out they absorbed some of my new abilities. They're currently performing a full production of Hamilton. The choreography is surprisingly good for single-celled organisms. She turned serious. The galaxy's watching us now. The Vrax wanted to prove our weakness. Instead, they revealed our greatest strength, the ability to take whatever the universe throws at us and turn it into an advantage. Her final words echoed through the chamber. They tried to break humanity. But you can't break what's designed to be reshaped. You can't destroy what evolves from destruction. And you definitely shouldn't torture someone who'll come back with better ideas. As she left the chamber, Her skin glowing with acquired energy, Sarah checked her phone. Jerry's colony was trending on social media. Apparently, their rendition of my shot had gone viral. Some things, she reflected, evolved in stranger ways than others.